Okay, hi, this is episode 2 of Turning the Jewel. Our guest today is Kary Kilmer. He's a jewelry maker locally here in Crestone. I imagine you've made jewelry at many places in the country, and we can go into all of that. I don't know, but I'm imagining. And we can start with an introduction of yourself and what you'd like to say about yourself. I've known Kary for, I think, 5 or 6 years. And so tell us a little about yourself.
Well, sure. I actually met you when I moved to Crestone the first time, which was, I think, back in 2015.
Yeah.
I know. And, I didn't have any reason to move here. I mean, I actually somehow or another Googled cheap land.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Crestone came up, and then all these conspiracy theories and, Maurice Strong and Hannah Strong and everything like that.
All the weirdos.
And I was just really intrigued with it. And I remember I said to myself, I'm going to move there. And then when I said that to myself, I looked at the clock and it said 11:11, and I thought, okay, here I go.
That's great.
Yeah. So I ended up moving here, and my background in small towns is I used to have a jewelry store in a small town, in a tourist town, and I loved it. I mean, it was probably one of the best jobs I ever had in my life, but then the crash came and everything, but we did custom jewelry. It was a small little town, about 750, not much bigger than Crestone.
Yeah.
And, that was part of my motivation. I really wanted to move out of the city and move to a small town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up coming down here, and I think I spent 2 or 3 years here. I had no interest in spirituality or anything. If anything, I kind of considered myself more of an atheist. And then, after a year and stuff like that, I'm going to Varshavidya every day and kind of doing a retreat and meditating, and ended up leaving, and now I've come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's great. This is third on my list. I tried 2 other places that didn't work out. This was kind of strike 3 or you're out, and I landed here and everything kind of fit together just perfectly.
No, I think you hit a home run there, Lonny.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so now you're following one of the spiritual, are you dedicated to one of the spiritual institutions?
Yeah,
here?
I'm a practitioner of Vajrayana Buddhism.
And where do they do that here?
At Varshavidya.
Varshavidya.
Yeah, it's a beautiful temple.
Yeah, I've heard. They have morning meditations or something like
every
that?
Every morning, yeah. You want to get there at 8:45, so I'm telling everybody 8:45, but it starts at 9, but don't be late, And it's open to everybody, and it's for an hour. They start out with prayers, and then there's about 20 minutes of meditation, and some lessons sometimes. Yeah. And they have terrific retreats too.
Yeah. So meditation retreats.
Well, they have Mahakala coming up here, and I think Green Tara. There's going to be 3 different retreats.
Yeah. That's super cool. I'm trying to learn more about Tibetan Buddhism because I've been here for 28 years, largely just on the periphery, so far away that I haven't learned very much at all. So
it's interesting. Some of the Tibetan Rinpoches and masters, they believe that there's a vortex that goes straight from Tibet through the earth into Crestone. And if you look around, I mean, it looks like Tibet. There's beautiful 14,000-foot mountains around us.
Yeah.
Actually, they're a little bigger in Tibet.
Yeah.
And yaks. I mean, we've got yaks out there.
I know, we've got yaks.
Yeah.
We're turning into Tibet.
And you walk in downtown Crestone and you see all these people with their maroon robes. And
a little bit, there's a few of them.
I must be in some Tibetan vortex or something. Yeah.
I'm in Thailand a lot, and the monks are all orange out there. They're not maroon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But my whole motif at my shop turned maroon for some reason, maroon and yellow, which is totally weird. Even the flowers that grow outside my house, the ones that were successful were maroon and yellow. It's like they were like Tibetan colors exactly, and that they started taking over my yard.
You sell a lot of jewelry, so white would be actually beneficial in feng shui.
Huh.
Because red might be a little bit destructive because red melts metal.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fire.
So it has to be what's creating metal.
Yeah.
So earth. Actually, maybe maroon could be earthy.
Yeah.
I suppose
It is a little on the earthy
It is
side.
on the earthy side. So anything that and white is really beneficial too.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fun ride with the shop. But okay, let's start talking about jewelry.
All right.
So we have collaborated on some pieces a bit, as far as like me supplying some stones, and that's kind of. I didn't even realize how much we'd collaborated till I saw the pictures that we're going to include in the video, and so that is pretty cool. And you're a fan of the Villa Grove Turquoise, which I'm part owner in now. So
Well, it's a really interesting mine. Now, I'm probably telling you this, you already know it, but maybe our audience doesn't know it. But I read somewhere that that's the oldest mine, one of the oldest mines in the world. And
I've heard that.
Yeah, and it's definitely the oldest mine in the United States. That turquoise was mined by the ancient Anasazi. They've actually done mineral tests and archaeological tests and found that that it's the same turquoise.
Yeah, I did see one study online that a university did on Chaco Canyon, and they had found Villa Grove turquoise up there.
Oh man, that's just so cool.
Yeah, and so I am also trying to slowly grok the spirit of the mine and the ancientness of it, and there's a lot of layers of modernness, and I'm trying to slowly incorporate like a system to work with the turquoise somewhat on its terms rather than my terms, So learning what it is.
Well, and I think on the metaphysical level, that turquoise has got some very, very great spiritual qualities. So anybody that has it, turquoise is good for the throat chakra too. So anybody that has to do any speaking, any sales, anything like that, would be a very beneficial healing gemstone for them.
Like both of us, maybe?
Like both of us, yeah.
Okay, so we've got a picture on the screen. I'm going to put it up later into the video of 3 pieces of Villa Grove turquoise.
Yeah, I bought those from you first thing when
we first met, kind of. Yeah. Yep. So they are really nice pieces with like blue and cloud kind of motif, a little bit of earth motif, and one of them's like pretty much pure blue.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember I got those 3 pieces from you because I was really excited about working with a local gemstone that came from the valley. Had no idea of the history of the mine and everything, and really how rare and special it is.
And when you produced that first piece of jewelry, I was stunned. Like I was stunned at how well you did that. Like I haven't seen any piece of Villa Grove turquoise that now this isn't that piece, but we'll go through them one at a time.
Yeah. So
I haven't
in my
even
background,
seen this piece.
I've been a goldsmith for almost 30 years, and I started in fine jewelry, setting diamonds and doing platinum wedding rings and stuff. And I've also been educated in Norway at the Kunst Museum and in Ireland. So I have a lot of background in it, and working as a goldsmith. But this piece here, it's got the bird and there's a baby.
I see a baby.
And when you go to Crestone, you go through a lot of stuff, and instantly, after the honeymoon phase, I think it was about 30 or 60 days, I started to feel a lot of pain in my heart.
It's a hard place a little bit here.
It is. It is. It's not. And sometimes it's not all that kind.
Yeah.
And so I was. Knowing that the red-tailed hawk is my spiritual animal, I had a vision of the red-tailed hawk as Horus, and so this is. I was meditating in just learning meditation at the time, and Horus was like coming into my heart, and almost healing me. So the turquoise represents a teardrop. The baby represents me, and it's basically like I cried in the breast of Horus was the title of the piece. And then on the top, actually, it doesn't show up in the photograph, unfortunately, but it's a beautiful bluish star sapphire natural that I bought from you that had an incredible star. And
yeah, stars need a certain light to
photograph. Yeah.
And a star is a six-pointed radial radiating out from the center of the stone.
Yeah.
And that happens in some sapphires.
And you can see the red-tailed hawk has got the Horus eye, the Egyptian eye.
And did you braid that chain?
I did, yeah. I made the chain from scratch. I actually teach that technique. It's an ancient technique called Viking knit. Although the Vikings didn't invent it, it was the Egyptians. But,
yeah. Oh, okay.
But they used to take pieces of it and they used to use it for currency.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, they'd say, "Oh, I gotta buy a loaf of bread. Snip, snip. Here you go."
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I could learn a lot more about. Okay, this is Is this the piece? First piece?
That's the other piece that I bought from you. So the middle is Challenger, and you can't really see it very well. And actually,
I can see it.
There was a serpent that I cut out in the middle, but I actually ended up gilding that with gold so it would show up. But you see the mountains, you see the trees, you see the shape of Challenger. On the top is a lotus, and it's backed by meteorite. If you etch meteorite. If you etch meteorite, you can close up on that.
Yeah.
In nitric acid or sometimes different acids, you get these patterns which are just bizarre. Actually, scroll down, you can see, yeah, there you go.
I'm familiar with the interior patterns of meteorite pretty well.
Yeah, and then it looks like we've got, I think it looks like a tanzanite, but I think it's actually a blue topaz that I had on there. I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really cool. I'm not sure if that's the first one you showed me.
Oh, next one's coming up.
I think the next one is that one.
So now that's the raw piece of turquoise, and I would say that this is my Crestone, I don't know what you'd call it, star piece. Yeah.
Well, for those of you who are from outside, Challenger is our most famous 14er right here, Challenger Peak. It's a Kit Carson Mountain, goes up to a 14er. It's the one most of the people, like 3 people die coming down from that every year here.
Yeah.
And it's very iconic to Crestone.
So this piece
this is the third piece.
This is the third piece, and probably one of my most prideful pieces.
I think that's the piece I was stunned by.
Right.
Yeah, in fact, it's really... And it looks freaking amazing. I love.
So the piece is called Willow Lake, up near Challenger. There's a valley, and it has a waterfall, and you can see the waterfall towards the bottom, there. Okay, and then on the top we've got the Celtic spiral, number 3, and then we've got the clouds, which there's kind of like they're going to pierce the earth. And, the story about this was that I had very, very strong inclinations to go to the top of the mountain, and that was in July.
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the calendar, and it was November 1st, and I promised myself I'd do it before the end of the year. So I basically just packed my stuff, and I started hiking up that mountain.
How was the snow?
Well, it was November, and it was pretty warm, so it worked out okay.
Yeah.
Although my body.
Yeah. No, it's a tough.
I mean,
it's a tough one. Willow Lake up and back in a day. Only the strong locals
keep
can
it on
do
the
that.
Yeah, keep it on the. But anyway, the Willow Lake piece. So what I did was I brought a piece of gold leaf, 24 karat gold leaf, and I put it in the lake, and I watched it float out and sink. And I remember having a feeling like I was probably one of the first white men to ever put gold back into the mountain.
Right.
Yeah, and so I was hoping that I would be blessed when I came here.
And like in Thailand, that gold leaf is very much a part of spiritual ceremonies where you paste the gold leaf onto a Buddha, and over time it builds up a big layer of gold on the Buddha.
Oh.
So it's also giving gold back to the spirit rather than being selfish with gold, I think, is part of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good thought that I really enjoy. But I love your trees on there too. Those actually rock my world, the little trees. So.
Well, and the way that this was made, usually when you have when you set a stone on the bottom part of it, is not seen, and you've got that solid piece. But in this case, it's set exactly the opposite. The bottom is the top, and then the design is cut in the top, and then it's actually set from the back, which is it's more of a picturesque kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I ever kind of came up with that process, which I've used quite a bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, trying to find my artistic voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Let's move to the next one.
Yeah. So this one is a piece of epidote. It's this green stone that's here, and I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think I gave it to you, but I wanted the rock matrix to be in there, and then you carved that for me.
Did I cut the epidote? I remember you asking me to do that.
Yeah.
I don't remember doing it.
So. Yeah. You cut and polished it.
Yeah.
And it was some epidote that I found up by the stupa. There's tons of it.
Yeah.
I've never understood why people don't use it as a gemstone. I mean, it's got this beautiful lime-ish kind of green color.
Yeah. It's classified semi-precious.
Yeah. And then now, once again, we've got star rubies, which I bought from you.
Yeah. And most of my star rubies come from Burma, and I get them on the Thai-Burma border in one of two towns.
Those were really nice.
Yeah.
I remember them. I kind of wish I had that piece still.
Yeah. And is that a woman or is what?
Yeah, it's a woman, and there's kind of a story about that, but I'm
sure you imagine. I'm sure it sounds like you build a story.
Well, actually,
the pieces.
The story was there,
right.
And it was actually this other person that kind of did the draw of the design. I wanted to collaborate with them, and as it turns out, it didn't work out. But that was their input, so I can't take 100% for that design, and it actually looks a little different than something that I would do.
Yeah, and I actually like it a lot. Okay, so we got a ring here that looks like a ruby.
That's a ruby.
A gold bezel and a silver actual ring. I don't know what you call that part.
Yep, silver shank.
Shank, okay.
Yep, and I set that in 22 karat gold around the ruby, and then we've got the sterling silver, which oxidized black. Not the best photograph, but I did buy the ruby from you.
Well,
and it was
it's
really
showing
beautiful.
it's showing a little bit the work, and the way, like we always in the jewelry business. I have one of those, and do you use that as a tool to stretch rings sometimes?
Oh, that's a ring mandrel, and we use it for all kinds of things. We use it to shape our rings. We use it to make our rings, and if you measure, using the pi formula, how much material you're going to use to make your size. There's a sizing chart, and then we cut it. We make the round thing, but you might be a little bit off, so you put it on that thing and you give it a couple whacks, to stretch it, and then test it again and a couple more whacks, or if somebody wants you to stretch a ring up, you can do it that way
I've
too.
tried that for a couple customers, but I definitely didn't. I mean, I worry a lot about giving it a whack and denting the ring, so
You should always respect that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and this is, and you might want to zoom in, but that's the Dharma collection. So
oh, wow.
I would say that I kind of, with that idea with Willow Lake of using the back of the setting as the front, came up with this idea to do all these images. And I was at the time studying Tibetan Buddhism. So, these are all different symbols that I have there. The lotus, there's the white Tara Tom on the left, Medicine Buddha is on the left there. And I designed these in a certain way too, that they would just clip on your mala beads, which I thought was kind of fun, And so that was kind of a collection that I did, and I've still been expanding on that.
I love the clip-on idea.
Yeah, and there's a close-up of one that's druzy, which, if you break open a geode where it's got all those crystals,
Yeah.
so that's some white druzy that's got the lotus behind it.
White druzy with a lotus
Yep.
in front, and that is I've never thought of that idea, so I'm going to say that you've got some pretty original ideas going here.
Thank you. Yeah,
and it's hard to do with jewelry.
Yeah,
So,
and this is there's a deity called White Tara, and this is her root symbol, Tom. It's called, and so anybody that practices White Tara would recognize this right away with white.
So the differences in the aspects of the Tara, there's like white and green and red, black.
There's 21 different Taras.
Okay.
But mostly people practice green Tara.
Yeah, I see a lot of green Tara.
And white Tara.
Yeah.
I think there's a difference. White Tara, as I recall, if you see a picture of her, she has one leg outstretched. She's ready to go into action.
Yeah.
White Tara practices are good for swift blessings and swift action.
And so if anybody that sees like Eastern gods, goddesses, every motion, everything they're holding has a meaning. It's really important to study if you're going to learn and follow, although it's not horrible to enjoy them for what they are, but the stories are very deep on each of these gods and goddesses, and each position has a lot of meaning.
Yeah, and it's funny because you talk about all the religions that have gods and goddesses. So whenever I see the version of Guadalupe when I'm in Mexico or whatever, I'm like, oh, there's the Mexican version of Tara.
Right. And to some of us, to me, I've studied quite a lot the similarities between Buddhism and Christianity, and I find the story to be 2/3 to 3/4 similar.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of look for ways to join the religions rather than ways to separate them.
Sure.
So, but that's just something so that religions are not fighting each other. It'd be better to find similarities, or at least put into perspective the context of similarities and differences, and not out and out prejudge them before you know what they are.
Yeah.
So
wish we could.
Yeah. And so there's a picture of you up on the mountain.
So this is outcropping that's north of Crestone. It's straight quartz that goes straight up in the air. Kind of looks like a dragon, the way that it kind of oscillates out of the mountain straight up. And you can actually kind of see the little, what would you call it, the striations or the matrix of the quartz going up, almost like quartz crystals, but very cloudy.
And I notice in there's striations of hematite and the turning red, layers of hematite turning red, and hematite being, I think, also a semi-precious stone, and so that I have heard that there's meditation seats and stuff up there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if those people want me to speak to that, but
well, I'll tell you, when I discovered the piece or the place, I meditated up there, and I felt an incredible surge going through my body from the ground up.
Yeah.
I went home and I started working on my jewelry bench.
Yeah.
And I cut my finger. I burned myself, and I have a rule, if I have 2 accidents, I don't wait for the third.
Yeah.
I just shut down, and I actually was extremely exhausted, so it wasn't even sundown yet. I went to sleep.
So you would call it blasted with energy to
I
the point where you couldn't
blasted with
function.
energy. Spun out. And the next day I woke up and I couldn't do a darn thing wrong. I was just on track for everything.
Yeah.
And so, I used to go up there. But now I've heard, there was these, I don't know a lot about them. They call them the corgis or something. Yeah, they're very enlightened.
Those are the South American, I think they're the ones on that very old, maybe 1980s documentary that do the heavy religious thing where they stick somebody in a cave to be their shaman for years in the dark, and they come out and see the world as new.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of coca leaf, those guys.
Yeah, well, they came
If
to
I'm
Crestone
correct.
and they confirmed that that formation had some special
Sure.
properties, and a lot of them have to do with manifestation. So.
And I'm planning to interview John Milton with The Way of Nature. He owns land up there, and he has showed me meditation seats that are obviously ancient.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, even from a layman's perspective, once you see them, they are Anasazi age seats where people sat a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're smoothed out and they're shaped, and you can see that people sat on them for a very many years.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this piece that you'll see on the screen there, I photographed it. For some reason, it just stunned me. It was this beautiful flicker feather that was frozen to the what we're calling now the quartz, or we call it the dragonite in Crestone.
Dragonite, okay.
Dragonite, because it's the dragon formation.
Yeah.
And I got inspired to create a piece of jewelry out of that. So that was the inspiration, and I took the picture, and then that's the piece. And so we have an emerald.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, so here you've got the Viking knit chain that I wove.
Yeah.
We have 22 karat gold around an emerald on the top, that's green,
cool.
nature.
Yeah.
Black silver with 22 karat gold on the bail. And then we have rose gold and sterling silver for the feather, and then I oxidized it black to kind of represent that black hematite that's naturally in there.
It's actually pretty, again, a unique piece. I'm actually a little surprised.
I know, it's a piece of rock, right?
Yeah. But the feather comes to life quite good as well.
So this is my temple of Arjavidya, and it was interesting. One of the statues didn't have what they call a vajra, or actually I have one that I wear on my mala. But these are things that they use in Tibetan Buddhism, and they're usually big, and they're supposed to emit spiritual lightning bolts. And, they use them in their ceremonies. And one of the deities, the statues, didn't have a vajra. It just got lost or something. Yeah. And so they commissioned me as a goldsmith to make one.
Okay.
And so this is Padmasambhava. They also call him the second Buddha. The second Buddha, Padmasambhava, he's more into the miraculous miracle kind of things that happen. He used to be able to fly. He performed all kinds of miracles. Tamed all the bad spirits in Tibet and made them vow that they were going to protect people that practice the Dharma.
Is that the demons? Is he the one that convinced the demons to be guardians?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting. I'm just learning about those aspects.
There's the Vajra that I did for him, and it was interesting because actually I knew that I'd have to do it several times because you're dealing with Tibetans that are like, oh, it's not right, or I wasn't sure if it would
in the hand
fit.
there.
Yeah, so I actually did this one by 3D printing, and I did it on computer, and then I had it printed in plastic, and when I got an approval from the Kempos to do it, for the size and the shape and everything like that. Yeah. And I had to come up with several different prototypes. Then that's what I came up with. And so I actually, and it's kind of small, so I actually have a replica here.
Yeah. That the Vajra is a double dorje kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dorje is another word for Vajra.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with all of that, but yeah, we've got a picture. I'm really glad, and that's identical-ish to the one you're wearing.
It's actually identical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's good we have the picture.
The one, it was actually printed, and I've printed them for people in silver and gold as well.
Yeah.
So it goes straight from 3D printer to the gold. They actually print out the gold. It's in a composite, and then they bake it, and then it gets hard. And actually, I've used the same process. I did one in cast iron.
So is it the clay that has the gold in it? That stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a clay.
Yeah.
And
and then you bake it, and the clay
gets just as hard. Yeah. The composite. And I actually did one recently. Same thing. I call it the Mahakala, but it's a cast iron Vajra as well.
Oh, that's all very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that God, I was ready to continue on, but that's the extent of those. So, yeah, it sounds like you've connected with the mountains pretty well.
I think so. Yeah, I think.
Connecting with the temples pretty well.
Yeah.
Are you?
I'm really good at communicating with rocks. I'm
Yeah,
not so good with plants.
me too.
I don't have a green thumb.
I'm a good rock communicator. Miner, connect with the earth at its foundation, pretty
Hmm.
much, and I do connect with other parts of it. Um, and like, okay, my position as a multi-generational Colorado native,
Uh-huh.
so I connect with it in trying to preserve aspects of the old, um, and I'm connecting a little bit with the pre-Europeans, which are the Spanish in this valley,
Hmm.
and because they were here a little before us, and the Native American presence is also in the rocks, because I'm up in the rocks,
Hmm.
and I find their tools and cast-offs from when they were making tools constantly, and I dig in the same holes they were digging in.
That is just
So
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
so to me the connection of all that is pretty primal and pretty important to my life,
Yeah.
and I think that you're expressing a similar connection. So
Yeah, I feel very connected to these mountains, and and it's hard to explain. You know, one of the mountains, woke me up and said, "Here, you got to do this piece of jewelry," and I could feel it was the mountain telling me to do it, and I didn't feel like it was really coming from inside so
huh,
much, and the only thing I could do was just obey. But it was 3:30 in the morning,
yeah,
you know, and it's kind of ridiculous in a way. I
yeah.
mean,
Well, it may seem that way, but I think externally, like what I see in your designs is something that is I see some divine inspiration in that. Like and I don't give that away very easily. I work with a lot of jewelry makers, and
hmm
I'm a former musician and artist and digger, and it's hard to find somebody that really connects with things, and you're showing genuine inspiration, I would say.
Yeah, I
So
would say my motivation definitely isn't like most jewelers where,
yeah,
you see a lot of guys that make jewelry and they got all these rings and they got all these gold chains and everything and yeah, exactly. And I'm not into that. I'm
yeah,
more to me I see something spiritual in every rock that I pick up, and
yeah,
there's a connection, and then I'm just trying to express that,
sure,
and using the metal to express it a lot of times. So
yeah,
anything that I do, I'm putting a lot of thought into it.
yeah,
Even the chain that I weave, I do mantras on the chain.
yeah,
So it's a way for me to do mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani
yeah,
Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, and it's like people are like, that takes you forever, and
yeah,
some people might look at it as a waste of time. Well,
yeah,
do you look at chanting as a waste of time when you're doing
right,
mantras? If we're spiritual practitioners, we don't. We
yeah,
we that's our practice,
yeah, right.
and we're
So
doing
you're
something.
making a mala in a sense,
Hmm.
in a certain sense. You're counting almost while you make the strands, and
Well, and it's been proven that if we speak a certain way to a glass of water,
right,
that it's going to change the molecular structure. I think
yeah,
they call it the Emoto effect. There's a
yeah,
documentary on Gaia that
yeah,
goes over
sure,
this, and I think the same thing with metal.
yeah.
Even metal is in more of a solid state, but it's liquid.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, even rocks, like to watch the process in which they create themselves and grind away,
Hmm.
is a process of taking a solid thing and making it less solid. Like there's so many forces in nature.
And they pick up
So,
vibrations
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and so they're more than just, dragonite is more than just a piece of quartz. It's
yeah,
it's it's got some kind of special vibration that
sure.
the mountain is sending into it, and it's not unique to Crestone. I mean, there's all kinds of. I always wonder sometimes when I'm driving down Kenosha Pass that I want to get out and I want to check out some of those structures and meditate on them, and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
What kind of structure is this? What could it be used to?
Yeah.
What place can this rock take me?
Right.
And I think we speak the same language in that regard.
Sure. And we've got some the Crestone Conglomerate up here, which is also ancient and old and colorful, beautiful. And I agree, the epidote hasn't really gotten its proper place with the European mindset.
No.
And it's also conjoined with the gold prospecting up here. Epidote is one thing you'll find in gold fields a lot. And then there's serpentine up here that I'm just working with. Working with. Really beautiful serpentine.
Yeah.
In this range, the Sangre de Cristo range.
Serpentine's got a lot of energy. I almost feel like when I hold it sometimes, I almost feel like it's electrocuting me slightly. I have to be really, really careful with it.
Yeah.
Because it's very fragile.
Yeah.
When you're setting a stone, when you set a stone, you have to actually bend the metal over it. And so you're pounding on it, you're pushing on it and everything. And
sure.
There's been a couple instances with serpentine where I broke it. And
I'm really?
What am I going to do? Cry a little bit, and then I go to the river and I just throw it back in the river and say, oh, there you go.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we've pretty much covered a lot of it. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the public as we
just
wrap
be
it up?
respectful of nature and and respectful of other beings.
And I would also say be sure to enjoy it, because it's you can't really respect it unless you're enjoying the journey on some level.
Absolutely.
So okay, we'll wrap it up, and thanks a lot for coming in, Kary.
Hey, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. And I was really blown away at all the stuff that we've done together. I'm just really amazed. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
All right.